Good evening and welcome to the November 3rd TV Toastmasters meeting. We have two speakers tonight. We also have a brand new member who will be giving his icebreaker. I want to welcome those of you that are in our studio audience as well as those of you looking in from home. This is our November 2011 meeting. This, along with our Saturday meeting in November, will be shown in December. That's why we have some of the holiday stuff around us. Help me welcome our Toastmaster for this evening's program. He is our former club president. He's also been an area governor, and he will be our Toastmaster this evening. Help me welcome Rick Barron.
Thank you, Steve. Fall is a time of transitions. Transition in what we see outside in the leaves. Transition in our clothing. All kinds of transitions. And if you're sitting out there watching us today, wondering about making a transition in your life, why don't you come join us at TV Toastmasters? Great opportunity to be in a comfortable, friendly, supportive environment to make the kind of transition that you're looking to make. Whether that's at work or at home, I think we can help you, and you should come visit us on the first Thursday or the third Saturday here at the Anderson Center. You can get more details at www.tvtoastmasters.com. That's www.tvtoastmasters.com. Now, I have the privilege of bringing back up Steve Ehrenholtz, who is our word counter and our grammarian today. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Yes, today I am the counter and the grammarian, and I will be looking for the use of verbal crutches as well as odd constructs in the English language. My first responsibility is to present the word of the day, which is patina. And the objective is to try and use this word at some point in our conversation during this meeting. Patina is a noun. It's usually a green film that is formed on copper or bronze by exposure to moist air, and it's valued aesthetically for its color. It can also be a surface appearance of something grown beautiful, especially with age or use. So those of us that are getting older, it's a patina that we're getting, not crow's feet. Another definition for patina is an appearance or aura that is derived from association, habit, or established character. And then the third meaning can be a superficial covering or exterior. An example of using the word patina is, although the winery is brand new, it has been constructed and decorated to give it a patina of old world quaintness. Try to use patina during our meeting this evening because I'm going to be listening for it. Mr. Toastmaster?
Thank you, Steve. I must say that patina is a new word for me. I don't know that I've heard that before, so I'll have to see if I can work that into what I'm doing today. Patina. Our next speaker that we have for you today will bring to you an opportunity, actually bring to our audience, the opportunity for impromptu speaking. Our Tabletopics Master is Michelle Hennekes. Michelle is our Vice President of Education, and it is my pleasure to welcome her to the lectern.
Thank you, Rick. So each meeting we dedicate a certain amount of time to table topics, and that, as Rick mentioned, is an opportunity for us to practice our impromptu speaking, which in general will translate to helping us when we're in the hot seat. So today, what I'm going to do is actually ask a question, and then I'm going to select somebody out of our audience to come up and answer that question in 1 to 2 minutes. We're entering the season of Thanksgiving. Tell us what you're most thankful for in your life. Kormelink?
Madam Tabletopics Master and fellow Toastmasters, what am I most thankful for? I'm thankful for being alive. Alive and well and feeling fantastic. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for Toastmasters. Toastmasters is very important in my life. It's my extended family. I have 4 Toastmaster clubs I belong to, so there's never a dull moment. I've made a lot of friends through Toastmasters. The person who did the eulogy for my husband when he passed away in '08, he was a Toastmaster. My financial advisor came from Toastmasters. My chiropractor came from Toastmasters. So Toastmasters is something I am very thankful for, and it keeps me active, alert, and alive. And this weekend is our big conference, and meeting our keynote speaker is going to be one of the highlights of my weekend. So I'm thankful that I'm still here, alive and well on this earth, and I don't need assisted living yet. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. Many, many things to be thankful for. I think this time of the year we start to reflect. We go all year long, and then don't really take the time to sit back and think of the important things in our lives that we truly are thankful for. So, with that being said, in a few weeks we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving holiday. So tell us about your favorite Thanksgiving tradition. Chris?
Thank you, Madam Tabletopics Master, is that correct? The favorite Thanksgiving tradition that I have is spending time with family. Obviously, Thanksgiving is a time to spend that time with family and really be thankful, as Carol had pointed out, what to really be thankful for in life. And that and watching football on Thanksgiving is always a good tradition to as well. I know there's always a nice spread that's always on the table with turkey and stuffing, cranberry sauce, and lots of good breads, although Carol is not eating breads at the moment, but but maybe she will be by Thanksgiving. So one thing that is you certainly don't want with Thanksgiving is to have a tradition that has a lot of patina on it, because you don't want that to become old and crusty and something that you always want it to be fresh and new, and still have those traditions that you're dealing with on a daily basis. So, or not on a daily basis, on a yearly basis. So, and that is what my favorite part of tradition of Thanksgiving is.
Thank you, Chris. I agree. My favorite part is the overindulgence, and then getting up the next morning and doing some Black Friday shopping. So we are entering the season of Thanksgiving, which is also sometimes looked at as the season of indulgence. All of the holiday cooking, the meals, the parties. Please tell us about your 2 favorite holiday indulgences. Rick.
Thank you, Michelle. My 2 favorite holiday indulgences. The first would have to be travel, because in most cases we leave to go visit others on either Thanksgiving or Christmas. We are not situated really close to family, so we, at Christmas time, go to visit my wife's family, and at times we would go visit my family for Thanksgiving. So one of those indulgences that we like to do is to travel. And while we're traveling, seeing new parts of the country, exploring new things, visiting new people, or just spending some time with those that we love and want to spend time with. I think the second indulgence that I like to do during the holidays is to sleep in. It seems like there's just so much hustle and bustle during the year that I'm sleep deprived by the time I get to the end of the year. And I'm really looking for a way to get caught up. And the holidays just seem like a fabulous opportunity to do that. So travel and sleeping in. I think those are 2 of my favorite holiday indulgences. Michelle?
Thank you, Rick. So have you ever thought about doing a non-traditional Thanksgiving? So you have 1 to 2 minutes to plan taking the group here on a non-traditional Thanksgiving day. Steve, would you tell us what you would plan for us?
Thank you, Madam Tabletopics Master, fellow Toastmasters. What would I plan for us for a non-traditional Thanksgiving? Well, I can handle that. You would be partially at the mercy of what I've been buying on my trips to the grocery store over the last several weeks, because we'd have to look and see what I have. But with Thanksgiving coming, I usually still have a turkey in the freezer that needs to be used, because I'll be loading up on my supply of turkeys again for the coming year. I have cranberry sauce. My wife doesn't really like it, so I have it because I'm not having it all the time. We have cake mixes, so I can make a cake for us too. I even have black olives. My wife hates black olives, so I'd have someone, maybe, I don't know how you feel about black olives, but we would have black olives. Potatoes, we might be a little short in that area. I have a bread machine and I have flour and yeast, so I could make us bread. I can make us gravy. We have vegetables. I think we'll do just fine for an impromptu Thanksgiving. Problem is, I'm not having Thanksgiving dinner at my house this year, so if you all come over, I won't have anything cooking. Madam Tabletopics Master?
Thank you, Steve. I think I'll wait till next year to stop over your house. So this concludes our session of Table Topics, and I'm going to pass it back on to the Toastmaster.
Thank you, Michelle. It's always fun to see what people pick as the table topics question, because in most cases they're all very appropriate to the season, all very appropriate to the people that are here, and it really gives people an opportunity to think inwardly about themselves. And that's exactly what we're about to hear right now. Our first speaker is our absolute newest member of TV Toastmasters. He's probably been a member all of 18 minutes or something of that nature. That's how new he is. And he is here to give his first prepared speech, and that is the icebreaker, where he gets to break through that patina and really share a little bit about who Chris Tehan really is. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Is that correct? Well, I learned the structure for this speech just about 2 days ago. So therefore, this speech, don't expect this speech to have a lot of patina on it. The speech is entitled, Not Well Traveled, but We've Been on the Move. Over the past 7 years, we have lived in 4 houses in 3 states. And judging by my first 25 years, I would not have thought this was possible. In my first 25 years, I lived in 1 state, the great state of Ohio, including when I went to college. Further, during those 25 years, I rarely traveled outside of the state of Ohio. When we did leave for yearly vacations for spring break, we would travel to the same spot in Florida every year. So even on vacation, we didn't even branch out and travel anywhere new and interesting. What began to break the ice for me was when I decided to move to Florida at the age of 25 for a new adventure. Although really this wasn't necessarily getting outside of my comfort zone, because it almost was like a second home since we had traveled there so many times before. Regardless, I found it exciting, and I thought I would be there for the rest of my life. I was wrong. Life has a way of throwing different challenges and opportunities at you. And we all know the saying, the grass is greener on the other side. While I was in Florida for 4 years, I met my wife and we took an opportunity to move to her hometown of Kansas City, Missouri. Now we really had the ball rolling at this point, and this is where the moving really began to heat up. From there, we only stayed in Kansas City for 2 years. And for various reasons, but we decided leaving Florida wasn't such a good idea. So we moved back to the Sunshine State. Surely we were there to stay this time, right? Since we'd already lived there once, moved to Kansas City, and now we were back. Surely we were there to stay this time. After all, who wants to keep doing all this moving? Certainly not my wife. As a side note, I will admit that while moving is stressful, it's a good way to keep from getting too attached to material items and accumulating a lot of junk. However, after 5 years and the birth of our daughter, we decided we needed to be closer to family so that she could grow up with grandparents and cousins and have all the traditions with family, like such things as Thanksgiving. So where do we go? Well, back to Kansas City, of course. As Yogi Berra said, it was deja vu all over again. But 2 years is really a long time to be in one place. After all, so when we had a recent opportunity to move to Ohio, we of course took it. 2 years, we didn't want to let the dust settle. We might as well get somewhere. We had been there too long. And that is how 7 years we lived in 4 homes in 3 states. This doesn't even count the many times that we moved within the same city, but that is for another icebreaker speech. So with all this moving around the country, who has time to travel? What is interesting is that in spite of all the moving across states, we never really had a chance to actually stop and see the places we were living in. Nor did we actually have a chance to travel around to places we really wanted to go, like Europe or the West Coast or the southwestern United States. We never had those opportunities. Ironically, all this moving across the country got in the way of us being able to travel. After this last move, my wife has emphatically told me that this is our last move, no more. I must admit that I agree with her, as it has been trying and stressful at times, plus we need to set down roots for our daughter. So I guess now that we are done moving, we can finally start to travel. And that is my icebreaker speech. Thank you.
It's always good to hear somebody's first speech. And the benefit of being in TV Toastmasters is that you get to view it on a DVD. Every member that speaks gets a DVD of the entire club meeting, and that they can go back and do their own self-evaluation of their speech. And what you'll see when you watch speech after speech after speech after speech, you'll get to watch how you've improved over the course of the months that you're in the club. And that's what I mean by watch yourself grow. You get that DVD, you can hold on to it, and you can go back to it and say, wow, look at my first speech. And look what happened 6 months later, or look what happened after I finished my first Competent Communicator manual, and look at the dramatic improvement that I made in my self-confidence, in my delivery, in my use of words, my gestures or vocal variety. It really is a great opportunity to watch yourself grow. And we've got a good opportunity to see just that with our second speaker. Our second speaker is working on project number 8 from the Competent Communicator Manual, which asks her to make effective use of visual aids. Her speech is titled, "You're Under Arrest." Michelle Hennekes, you are under arrest.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. We all know one. Most of us have seen them, but none of us want to be one. What am I talking about? That's right, a fashion victim. I'm undercover agent Michelle A. Style with the Department of TV, TM, PD, and I'm with the fashion unit. And I'm here to talk to you today about how to prevent yourself from becoming a victim of fashionista fever. Fashion victim. The phrase was coined by famous fashion designer Oscar de la Renta. I'm going to share with you 3 definitions. First, an overzealous or uncritical follower of fashion trends. If it's on trend, they're doing it, whether it's age appropriate, whether it's occasion appropriate. Number 2, a person who is unable to identify the commonly defined boundaries of style. They always take it over the top. Number 3, a compulsive shopper who only buys name brands and will only consider wearing something if it's on trend, regardless of whether they can pull it off. So in a nutshell, a fashion victim is someone that has an outfit or clothing or item that are perfectly in style, yet they end up looking ridiculous when they wear them. Why are these people referred to as victims? Because they're vulnerable to faddishness and materialism. And they're at the mercy of society's prejudices and the commercial interest of the fashion industry, or perhaps both. So I'm here today to arm you with the knowledge of how to protect your style and play it safe. 1, always be yourself. Just because it's on trend, if it doesn't fit your style, if it isn't unique to you, don't try it. Do not try it. Chances are, if you feel uncomfortable, you probably look pretty uncomfortable too. So, for example, this summer, all the rage, feathers, they're everywhere. But let's face it, unless you're under the age of 18 or you're in the music or art industry, you probably shouldn't be sporting this to work. Number 2, less is more. Everybody raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will not overdo it.
I will not overdo it.
My suggestion is, go out, buy a few trendy items, but make sure you pair them with the classic basics in your closet. You'll never go out of style if you take something super trendy, like this cute little tank, and pair it with a classic blazer. You'll look your age. You'll look appropriate for the occasion. Number 3, maintain balance. And I'm not talking 50-50 here. Use the 80-20 rule. When you make your big investments, 80% of them should be things that aren't going to go out of style, things that are timeless. The other 20%, you can buy the fun, trendy things. Piece them together, mix and match. This is the most cost-effective and the easiest way to play it safe for your style. So it's okay to have fun little trendy boots like these. But like I said, when you're making the big investment, make sure they're classic pieces that will go with everything. Do not be a sucker for name brands. When people start referring to my Gucci bag, or my Manolas, or my True Religion jeans, they're getting stuck on the name. And essentially what's happened is that labels have made it from here on the inside of my shirt to the outside. Right? You become a walking billboard. It's not attractive. Finally, do not be a slave to the media. This is not the gospel. What you see in here, what you see on television, and especially what you see on the runways, don't do it. Take ideas from there, absolutely. But models and actresses, they tend to overdo it for the attention. We all know that. And to be honest, it's not going to translate well for your everyday life. Follow these easy tips to make sure you're not another statistic. Because it's not about the clothes you wear, but it's about how you wear them. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Some very good tips on how not to get the fashion police after me. I don't think that that's typically a concern. I did own a pair of pink shorts one time that I really liked, but I got a lot of comments about pink shorts. That was... We now transition to the evaluation portion of our meeting. This is where our speakers have an opportunity to learn how they did against their objectives, to see how they did in terms of the word of the day, and to help us understand how we did managing the time that we were given for each of our speeches. It takes a team to do an evaluation, and that team is led by Carol Kormelink. Carol is our treasurer, and I welcome her to the lectern.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. As General Evaluator, I will be having my team come up and give their reports, and my first team member, and that is the patina of the speeches. If patina is this beautiful green, I think it's yucky on my faucets down the basement, but if this is supposed to make it more valuable, evaluation is the patina of the speeches. As General Evaluator, I will call up all of my team members and start out with the first evaluator for Chris's icebreaker speech, which is Steve Aaronholtz. Distinguished Toastmaster Steve.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our guests looking in from home, and Chris. Congratulations on completing your icebreaker speech. I even have a ribbon here. The speech that you gave this evening is the first one out of the Competent Communicator Manual. The purpose of the speech is to become accustomed or start becoming accustomed to speaking in front of an audience. You're telling us about a topic that you know better than anyone else, and that is you. One of the things that I'm asked is to identify some strong points that the speaker already has. One of the things I noticed is that you have good volume when you're speaking. I didn't have any problem hearing you. This is a smaller room, but you had good volume, good pronunciation. You also had eye contact with the audience. You were permitted to use your notes because this is your first speech, and I didn't find your use of notes to be distracting. I didn't think it was problematic. I think you were appropriate as far as your use of them. I'm also asked to identify how well the audience got to know the speaker. I thought it was real interesting. I liked hearing you talk about moving all around the country. My wife and I did that as well. It seemed like for a while we couldn't move any distance shorter than 900 miles. It is kind of a pain, but on the other hand, you do jettison off a lot of stuff. You also have to have everything packed up to go at once. It's not like moving in town where you take dribs and drabs and it takes forever. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Yes, it did. I think you kept on track. It also followed a logical sequence. One of the other things I was asked is whether your speech had an opening, body, and conclusion, which yours did. One of the things that you don't have to do, although you wouldn't have really had any way of knowing it, was at the end of your speech, you said, that concludes my icebreaker speech. We don't need to have anything quite that abrupt. That's not necessary. You'll just come up with a conclusion to your speech, and then you turn it back to the Toastmaster. Let me see, what else do I have here? What did I like about the presentation? Very conversational, good word choices. I liked your use of a gesture that you used. I thought that when you were talking about moving and you talked about moving back to Ohio, you took your hand and you actually moved it across your body, giving us the indication of movement, which is what you were doing. You were moving back to Ohio. I also thought that you had good control as far as any nervousness, nothing that was obvious. I would have liked to hear a little more vocal variety, but that's something that comes with experience, and I still work on it. Also, you can yes, more inflection. You can also use pauses. Sometimes not saying anything gets your point across. I look forward to your next speech. Welcome to TV Toastmasters, and congratulations on completing your first speech. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Steve, for that uplifting evaluation. Very thorough. Our next evaluator, evaluating Michelle's speech, is Rick Barron, competent communicator.
Thank you, Carol. It's always a pleasure to evaluate Michelle, to see what she's going to come up with next. And this time is really no different. Her project was project number 8 in the Competent Communicator Manual, Getting Comfortable with Visual Aids. She was supposed to use 2 or more visual aids that were appropriate for the message and the audience, to display them correctly and with ease and confidence, and to incorporate all of the other learnings that she has gotten in terms of organizing her speech, her word usage, her body language, and her vocal variety. So what a tall order to essentially take everything that you've learned and add visual aids on top of it. And she did an absolutely fabulous job. I like the introduction, the way that you came up and say, we all know one, dressed in the policeman's sunglasses. I think we all thought that you were going to take us one way, and then you kind of brought us back with this whole concept of the fashion victim. So I really like the way that you set the stage with the introduction. In terms of gestures, you talked about going over the top. You talked about being on trend, and at one point in time you pointed about how you are going to be able to do this kind of thing. And so I enjoyed the gestures that you used there. In terms of the word choice that you used, I like victim, slave, sucker, some really good words that you chose to communicate this whole concept of fashion victim. So I really like the way that you chose the words as well. In terms of what you could have done differently to make the speech more effective, I think 2 things that I caught. The first was, while you were reaching down to get your props, you kept talking while you were doing that. And my only suggestion would be that you just kind of pause, you reach down and get your prop, you come back up, and then you continue your speech. That would be the one suggestion that I would make. And the other one really comes from Rick's speech, where he took off the t-shirts. Remember that speech where he took off the t-shirts? That would have been the only thing where you could have kind of demoed some of the fashion faux pas, but I think that's probably a little bit harder for you than it was for him in just taking t-shirts off. So really the one thing would be just when you go down to get the visual aids, not speaking while you do that. Overall, the visual aids were used well. They were clear to see. You set a number of them up here for us to actually see. Others really weren't appropriate because they would have taken hangers or something like that to see. You did a great job of holding them up and incorporating a lot of the other learnings that you had in terms of the speaking that you've done so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Very thorough. We build our vocabulary with our word of the day and our listening for ahs, ums, and other killer filler words. And today, our all-counter grammarian report will be given by Steve Ehrenholtz, Distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I feel like I need my roller skates here. Keep coming up and going back down. Okay, I had 3 roles that I was doing this evening. I was listening for ahs, ums, crutches, other verbal crutches that we use. I was also listening for the word of the day, and then thirdly, I was listening for some grammatical errors. First of all, I'm going to go through the word of the day. Let me see who has all used this. Chris, you used patina in your table topic. I thought that was really good. Get it out of the way right away. Carol used patina twice. I'm trying to see if I had any others down. I don't think anyone else used patina. For ahs and ums, this was a little bit of a challenge because I was listening for those as well as and, so's, and some of these other things that we use to start or end sentences. I mean, these are my favorite things to do, but they're not appropriate. Carol or Michelle, you had a couple of your sentences you began with so. Just a pause, just end your sentence, start another one. I do the same thing. It's run-on sentences, so or and. Pull them all together. You sew them all together. We don't need to do that. Chris, for your table topics, you did have 7 ahs. I also noticed you did some of this, we call it double clutching, which is and, but. You're repeating things, and you don't need to do that either. But we call it double clutching, so you may hear that term used. Rick, you had a couple of rather creative sentences too, where you said things like, so we at Christmas time. Let's see, what else do I have here? So travel, you were using some of the so's to hook things together. Yeah, we're starting sentences and using so as a transition. Chris, in your speech, you had 6 ahs. You had, one time you said, so do we go, so where do we go? And I thought, okay. After all, so when, that was between 2 sentences. Let me see, Michelle, I didn't hear much of anything that I could jot down here, so you did real well. Carol, as I mentioned, you used patina. One thing I did notice when you were introducing me for Chris's evaluation, you said you were introducing me, which is our first evaluator. I think you use which with objects and who with people. So it would be who. I did like your killer filler words. I thought that was good. Anything else that I have missed? I don't think so. That's my report. Madam General Evaluator?
Thank you, Steve, for that detailed report. That shows what a good listener you are when you're wearing 3 hats at once. Very good. For the timer report, I was the timer part of the time. We started out with the word power. It took about 1 minute, 30 seconds. On the table topics participants, I used 1 minute and 10 seconds. Chris, for your first one, very good. You spoke exactly the 1 minute. Rick Barron, with his 2 indulgences, 1 minute and 15 seconds. Thought it would take you longer to get 2 in, but that was good. Steve, with his non-traditional Thanksgiving, 1 minute and 35 seconds. So we were all within the time. None of us would have been disqualified. The scheduled speaker, Chris, for his 4 to 6 minute speech, used exactly 4 minutes. Michelle Hennekes, for her 5 to 7, used exactly 6 minutes. For Steve's evaluation, the 2 to 3 minutes used 3 minutes and 23 seconds, which you have a 30-second leeway. You were within time. And Rick, 3 minutes and 1 second. Very good evaluations. For the grammarian, Steve, your report was 3 minutes and 16 seconds. So we've kept within the time really well tonight. As the general evaluator, I evaluate the meeting. Because I got here late, the meeting started on time. I presume. Everything went smoothly tonight. I enjoyed the meeting. Having just a few people, we still had a very good meeting. It's also my job as the general evaluator to give suggestions on some things that the evaluator may have added to their evaluation. With Steve, the only comment that I would have mentioned, which I was quite impressed with on Chris's speech, was that he moved his eyes down and not his head when he looked at his notes. I'm quite impressed with that. I was watching the ladies in the choir on Sunday, and some ladies know how to put the eyes down to read the music, and others they go down, so their voice is not projected out into the audience. So you're ahead of the game already, Chris. Very good. And Rick, you gave a very, very thorough report. The one thing that I noticed for me, when she held up some of the things, it was kind of up and down. It was a little fast because, like, I don't know this name here. Oh, you don't know? So I wasn't sure because I was pretty up and down fast. So the only suggestion I would have made was you already did about not talking while she bent down, but to hold it just a little bit longer so we could, if you weren't not familiar with the name, if you know the name, you just have to see that Nike and you know what it is. But if you don't know the name, it was kind of up and down pretty fast. But other than that, I thought we had a very good meeting, and I will now return control of our meeting back to our Toastmaster, Rick Barron.
Thank you, Carol. You've had an opportunity to see the five of us numerous times today. And that is not typically how our meetings go. We typically have much better attendance, not only at this meeting, but on the Saturday meetings as well. And so the good news is, if you're sitting out there considering joining TV Toastmasters, this is a small club. A club that does not have an enormous number of people. A club where we have an opportunity to participate numerous times in a meeting and an opportunity to get to know one another really, really well. So if you're looking for a place that you can call home, where you can feel like that you're valued, that you're given an opportunity to grow, and that you're supported during that growth, come visit us. First Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Anderson Center, third Saturday at 9 a.m. as well. We welcome guests. For information, you can visit www.tvtoastmasters.com. It's my pleasure to return control of the meeting back to our president, Steve Aaronholtz.
Thank you, Rick. Let's give our Toastmaster for this evening a round of applause. I would like to reinforce Rick's message and invite anyone who is interested in seeing what Toastmasters is all about or what a Toastmasters meeting is like, please consider coming and visiting us during one of our meetings. There are other clubs in Cincinnati as well, so if there is something that you find doesn't work for you, such as the time or the type of arrangement that we use here, there are a number of other clubs in the Cincinnati area, and we can help you identify one of those. All clubs are thrilled to have visitors, so you should never be reluctant to go to a Toastmasters meeting. We don't push you to get in front of an audience any faster than you're comfortable. We also tell people, and I have done this myself, I reassure people that if you get in front of the audience and everything falls apart, we will still tell you what you did well as giving you some areas that you can grow in the future. I thank you for looking in on our meeting tonight. I hope you will consider joining us. We do meet at the Anderson Civic Center at 7850 5 Mile Road. The studio is downstairs towards the back of the building. It is at 6 p.m. the first Thursday of every month and at 9 a.m. the third Saturday of every month. Our next meeting will be Saturday, November 19th. For those of you who are wondering what else Toastmasters does, we do have our fall conference coming up this coming Saturday in Fairborn, Ohio. And it is something that I'm hoping that the Toastmasters here, as well as a lot of my fellow Toastmasters, will be attending this weekend. At this point, we are going to adjourn the TV Toastmasters meeting, Club 9523, for Thursday evening, November 3rd, 2011.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
I take pride in the word
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom
like breast
requires
cancer,
leadership,
there are
and
no
leadership requires
parties.
oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.